Hey guys, Shane McMurray from the Wedding Report. In this episode, I interview David, who is the owner of Expressway Music. He's a DJ in New York City. Check it out. All right, David, tell me about your business. Tell me what city you're in. Give me your website address, Instagram, any of those things you have online. Go ahead.
So I'm Dave Swirsky, owner and DJ for Expressway Music. Started back in July of 1992.
Wow.
Started it in Queens, which is a borough of New York. Out of my little basement apartment at the time, I had a little armoire in there and was just sending out flyers, and we kind of grew, moved into the city.
Yeah.
We started the business as a DJ company, and at the time, karaoke was literally brand new, where we had to introduce it all the time, and people were asking for weddings at that time, so we just built it from there.
Yeah.
So we now is our 28th year in business. We're in Midtown Manhattan. We're on 39th Street between 5th and Madison. The business is a lot of weddings, a lot of corporate events. We do bar and bat mitzvahs, store openings. There's a lot of stores here in New York City.
Yeah.
As you could.
Yeah.
We do have a website, www.expresswaymusic.com. We have an Instagram, Expressway Music NYC.
Nice.
Not really on Twitter too much.
Okay.
Post some nice pictures of recent gigs. We're on Facebook. You can find us on Facebook, Expressway Music. But we find, most of our business, it wasn't always like this, but, we've been in business 28 years now.
Yep.
Virtually, I would, not all, but most of the business is from old clients talking about us.
Yeah, direct referrals. Yeah, I hear that a lot.
And we keep in touch. We keep in touch with it. When we started, it was a different world we lived in. Back in the early 90s, it was the yellow pages and flyers that I would put in the mail.
Yep.
And then you had, even online, we were a pioneer. We were like one of the first with Google AdWords.
Yeah.
I learned it so well. I think I could have taught a class in it.
Yeah.
But it got saturated. I found it got saturated. And we kind of got out of that because it was costing a fortune after a while. So kind of just built it to a point where it's, our client base, and we feel very fortunate about that.
Yeah, well, that's true. Like, if you can build a really good client base, and you guys have done, 20 years is amazing. Congratulations, by the way, for being in business that long. If you can do that and you continue to stay in touch with them and build that connection with them, you don't need to do anything else, because you're going to get business from the people that you already know. And it's just going to continue to snowball as you do more business with more people, and you provide great service. If you provide great service, you don't need to do anything else.
There you go. And that's what I've told our DJs. We don't have a tremendous company. If we add a DJ every 10 years, it's a lot, believe it or not. But they say, like, what do you do to promote? When they're first interviewing, they say, if you do a nice job and you treat people well, you're doing a good job and treating people well, that will be a lot of how we get business back.
That's right.
And that's really how it's turned out to be.
Yeah.
But it's you do have to still do a very good job, and do the basics. And I find it like the basics in any business.
That's true.
If you're selling pipe fittings or you're DJing, keep up with what you're doing. Keep up with the industry. Keep up, in this case, with the music. I started a music podcast back in 2012.
Wow.
It's called the Music First Podcast with DJ Dave Swirsky. And full disclosure, I started it as a self-study with my engineer. He was an assistant on DJ gigs with me. So he put all the, what we needed to get on to do the podcast.
Yeah.
He was kind of my sidekick. but I started it so I would get better at music genres that I wasn't as strong with.
That's
Um,
good.
Jazz, certain types of Latin music,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and other. And plus, the other parts that I did, because I also had a vast knowledge of a lot of music. And at that time, you know, it's very easy to, music is so accessible now.
Yeah.
But to find the really good music and the good songs, I figured I could provide a service that way too.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but the main reason was so I'd get better at what I do for a living as DJing.
That's
And
great.
I can't tell you, Shane. So it's 8 years now. It's hard to believe we record every week. It's
Wow.
musicfirstpodcast.com.
I'm subscribing.
Oh, I love it. No, I love to hear it. It's not for everybody. It's an open format. So we might have, um, a African drumming in one song. We'll talk about it a little bit, and then maybe go to a song by the Rascals, and then maybe you do a song by John Legend. Pretty
Sure.
much, if it has melody, and we feel that it's worthwhile to recommend,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that's what we put it on the podcast.
So
So
that's great because
you know,
you're spending time learning your craft and exploring your craft, and that's what I think a lot of people miss. I mean, how do you become better at what you do? Is you have to learn and do stuff in the thing that you love to do, right? That's how you become better.
that's it. And it's not for monetary gain. I mean, I have gotten some offers actually. I don't want to do it for the gain of the money.
Yeah.
It's really for the knowledge. And Shane, when I tell you when I'm DJing now, it's 2020, so it's 8 years from that. And I've been a DJ for most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot believe the picks that I even pick now, and even the knowledge that I have um, of the musical styles that I didn't know. Uh, I know so much more, and I I'm grateful for it. So
Yeah.
it's been very helpful, and like you say, to learn your craft.
Yeah.
That's how you keep up and learning.
It's
It's
constant
always learning.
discovery.
It's
It's
always learning. That's
yeah.
the thing I feel, especially in this job. And I'm not saying this only to the DJ industry. I think for a lot of vocations, people don't know. You could be a toll taker, or you could be cleaning the floors at Wendy's. There's intricacies in that job that people have no idea what you're doing.
Yep.
Um, and it's the same for DJs. We are not just pressing buttons, you know,
I know.
you know. So,
Well, yeah. And the thing is like you mentioned, like just the floor cleaner, right? For example, when you do your job really well and you really take the time to understand your craft, you become so much better as an individual, that I can't explain it. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, even though I'm a data geek and I do data stuff all the time, I am constantly exploring new data. I am constantly learning new concepts around, um, algorithms or whatever it is that to discover and learn and figure out how do I do more? How do I make it better? How do I, even though the wedding report, I've been doing this for 15 years as a data science project, basically. I'm constantly tweaking it and looking at it and going, oh, I didn't think about that. Maybe I should think about that in a different way. And what does that look like? And so it's a constant science project. It's constantly exploring and learning. The music is so awesome because um, there's so much great music out there. It's just unbelievable the amount of, I mean, right? I mean, there's just so much beautiful, great, moving music out there that just is amazing.
absolutely. And one of the things, with the podcast too, that um, there's so much great old, like we feature a lot of new music, but there's so many gems also that have been done, not only the original song, but covers of great songs
Yeah.
that are swallowed up and forgotten. And one thing I want to do is like bring them back. Just listen to this.
Yeah.
Just like Aretha Franklin.
Yeah.
Great songs, Respect and
Yeah.
Dreaming and all these songs. But to me, she does what I find like she did almost the impossible. So she could cover a song by the Beatles maybe better than them. She would cover a song better than the original artist. That's hard to do.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you don't hear that on every day. And also, when you put songs on you know, the service that plays it, Spotify and
Spotify and
all those, we're giving it a little bit of color to it. So we're adding a little commentary like that. So
yeah,
these songs are not forgotten, and the songwriters are not forgotten.
yeah,
But getting back to what you were saying, you and I don't do something all that different. We're using analytical skills, and analytics is a big part of the DJ business, especially the wedding business, because it's all details. The wedding industry is really all details.
yep,
And from the way you describe what you do, you're using your analytical skills a
yeah,
lot.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, wedding is a timeline, right? Everything is orchestrated. Someone the other day I was interviewing explained it well. He called it movements, and a wedding is like a movement, right? It's like a movement from one feeling to the next into the next, and that's how they orchestrate their music, because they're a band, and they play, band, they have different instruments and different people playing in different areas of the movement. So it was
Yeah,
kind of interesting conversation.
it sounds like that band has been around for a while, and has done a good amount of weddings,
Yep,
right?
yep, yep, they have.
Interesting to bring that up, because sometimes clients will say, "Can you tell me about the flow? How's the flow going to go on the event?" And I said, it's a really good question. And there's all types of clients. Some clients, the music isn't as important.
Yep,
Uh,
that's right.
and you know, my late grandmother. This is not a knock. My late grandmother could have probably picked out songs, and there would have been pockets of dancing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So and then there's clients where the music is very, very important. Um, People tend to come to me as a DJ. We have all levels of experience and talent.
hmm,
When they don't want necessarily that canned, I don't. That's a negative word. I said maybe that linear effect, like and sometimes a lot of clients like this, which is great. To
hmm,
do a lot of DJs will do maybe a set, an 80 set, and then they'll maybe do a 90 set, and they'll break it up from set to set. There's
right,
nothing wrong with that, and that could rock a lot of parties. My style tends to be more, I might do a song from today, go back to 2003, maybe go back to the 60s with some soul, and
hmm,
then come back to the 80s. And I couldn't tell you what I'm going to play right now. It's really, because it's not rocket science what we do, but if you do this a lot, it
yeah.
is a rhythm, like you're saying.
It's about the rhythm and flow, right?
It's a rhythm and flow. It's like, do you watch golf? You ever watch?
No. Mm.
I I love to watch Tiger Woods and some of these players, because I used to play a lot, and it's an impossible game. But when you watch these guys, and there's thousands of people in the gallery, and they get up, and I'm thinking, God, if there's 5 people watching me hit the ball, I'm nervous.
Yeah,
They get up there, and they hit the ball, and every time it's down the center. And it's because in the off time they're practicing, and they play. This is what they do.
yeah,
And it's the same with like an event, with that rhythm and flow. You know, the experienced DJs will get there and really feel like, uh, this is a great challenge, and this is just gonna be phenomenal, because
yeah,
I'm gonna know where to go, um, and it's gonna be everything that they envisioned.
yeah. Sounds good. Hey, so if I, like when someone books you, kind of walk me through the process. Like, what do you guys talk about? What goes into that piece of like the thing before, when they decide they want to work with you?
All right. So are you talking about like from the initial phone call?
Yeah, well, let's say we meet and we like you, we book. What goes into it after that?
Okay, so they book. So the contract is signed, the
Yep.
agreement is signed, and all that.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to talk, let's go back a little bit. Let's say they call you. Tell me about that process and up to the contract signing, and then past that.
To me, it's all about listening from that first phone call. I want to hear what they have in mind. I will tell you though, it has changed over the years.
Oh yeah.
A lot of emails now.
Yeah.
People don't like to pick up the phone as much.
True.
So we'll get an email, and people are busy, and you could tell by a lot of the emails. They give you the details, and they want pretty, for the most part, pretty quick response and answer back.
Yep.
So maybe on the response back to a first email, I won't go super into depth. I'll tell them we're available, who's available, and I'll give a range of prices.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll ask them if you'd like to set up a FaceTime, or I'm glad to meet them at the venue even before they make a decision. I find this is ground zero for a personal business,
Yeah.
a smart business. So I want to make them feel very comfortable. I want them to have the greatest day of their life. I mean, my wedding, I will tell you, it was a surprise to me. It was the best night I ever had. And I had already been DJing for years. And it was. So I was glad, because I said, I want to duplicate this again and again and again.
Yeah,
so,
perfect.
Yeah, so we'll if they go to step 2 and we talk,
yeah.
Sometimes we'll talk to the bride and then the groom is at work, or vice versa. I might need to talk to the groom as well. It's really just about listening and asking them, have you been to other weddings and seen things that you like and you don't like?
Right.
And then ask them if they've had an idea of how they envision the day to go.
Yeah.
Some clients could be wedding planners themselves. They know what they want, and they want to duplicate it.
Yeah.
Some clients don't. On the opposite side, some clients will say, "Listen, I don't know. I've never done this before. Can you walk me through it?"
Yeah.
Right. So it really depends on the feedback,
Right.
and I'll spend as much time as they need for answering any of the questions. Now, when they decide to book us, we'll send them our agreement, and then we'll be in touch. We always have a door open. We're in Midtown. They can always stop by if they want.
Yeah.
Emails, phone calls, but we do like to meet with them again a couple of weeks, not too far in the future before the wedding.
Yeah, sure.
Not as fresh, but maybe a week or two before the wedding, and just go over everything. Now I'm very fortunate that our office manager, I call her my Veep.
Yeah.
She's in the back here, Sharisa.
Yeah.
She handles a lot of the details with the venue as far as getting in touch. What time can we load in? Or, basically on our end of it, are there any stairs? So we're not surprised when we get there. It's all about having the least amount of stress when we get there, so
Absolutely.
we can be so much present for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she'll handle the insurance and all that. So during the final meeting, we'll go over just logistics. We have a form that they can fill out beforehand, but we tell them not to worry about it. When they come to the meeting, we can go over everything. What your first dance is. Do you want guests to join you during that first dance? Do you want to go into a second dance? And there's a lot of, every wedding is a little bit different.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Some are a cocktail style wedding. Some are more formal, depending on the venue. If it's outside, some of it's outside, some it's inside. So we go over all those details.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's all in an effort to make them feel just like, okay, this is just, I can just clear my mind. This is going to be a great time.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. What advice would you give couples today when they're looking for DJs?
Personally, I would ask the DJ why they got into the business. Yeah, I would say, why they get into it. I don't think a good. I don't necessarily think I'm definitely talking, you know, uh, generally. I don't think it's a great idea to get into the business because you need extra money. I,
Yeah.
I mean, I left a pretty cushy family business, um, with people in my family really not happy with me to do
Yeah.
this. And I just had a calling for music. I've been writing songs since I'm a kid, um, and in bands, and just this voracious appetite for music and music knowledge. And also, I'm a people pleaser, so the combination of the two
Yeah.
really worked for me.
Yeah.
And this is what I felt I needed to do it,
Yeah.
rather than, I'll meet some people and I'll make extra money. Um, I think that would probably be my main advice, is maybe ask why did you get involved with it?
Yeah. That's probably the best, that's the best way to find someone who really loves and knows what they're doing is, why did you get into this? Because if you got into it to make money, like you said, right, then the chances are you're probably getting someone that's, unfortunately, probably not up to par on everything. And, you know, I do what I do and you do what you do because we love to do what we do, right? I do wedding report and the data part because I love data. I do that as a freaking hobby
Awesome.
and go look at data. I mean, that's just you. I mean, you walk by my desk anytime, I'm looking at some data going, hey, where's the correlation between this and that? It's because
That
that's
is
what I
really
love to
interesting
do.
to me. Actually, that is really interesting to me.
Yeah. But you know
That's
what I mean? It's the
Yeah.
same with you. Like you started a podcast just because you wanted to learn more about your craft and kind of get more into the music space itself, right? I mean, there's
Yes.
no better way, there's no better person to get on a task than someone who loves to do what they do. So that's
I
great.
think so. Thank you. I think so. Yeah.
Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the business side. What would you say in business is working well for you right now today?
Business that's working well.
Working well, yeah.
I go back to just like the basics. It's kind of, there's no great highs and there's no great lows. It's just doing the basic thing. Consistency.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the right, the type of answer you're looking for. Tell me if it's not. Just getting back to people on time, quickly, um, answering the phone when it rings, getting back to emails,
Yeah.
uh, like we said, keeping up with the music of all styles of music.
Hmm.
Um, business wise, there's more competition in business now,
Yeah.
um, in a lot of ways. Uh, very early on in the business, I did diversify for the reason we did. It wasn't for any other thing, is because we were good at it. Like, this is not bragging or anything. Like, when I started the business, it was as a DJ, but I bought the karaoke on,
Yeah.
because I was a good host. My family had massive amounts of sing-alongs, and I knew the words to these songs. I knew what these artists. So this was I'm good at this, and I'm good
Yeah.
at this. So, when it gets a little bit slower on one end of it, the karaoke has always been kind of consistent.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't
Or
know.
corporate events, right? Or something, or other types of events,
Yeah,
right?
yes, yeah, corporate, and it's definitely an acquired taste. It's not for everybody. I mean, we do, believe it or not, fairly good amount of weddings that include karaoke.
Oh,
If
I
not,
bet.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's getting more so. People are maybe letting their hair down more with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Um,
it's the generation.
it could be that. Yeah, that could be.
Yeah. Yeah.
That could be. Um, and I think, trying to think. Did I answer that in
Yeah.
the?
No, that's great. I'm really just trying to understand what things are working for you well in business. And I think you answered it. I mean, you said it, right? The basics, right? Just staying on task, just answering, responding to people, doing the thing I need to do. That's
And
working
keeping in
well.
touch, with with people that you've connected with. You know, you don't connect with everybody, but the ones you connect with, that seems to help.
Yeah. So on the flip side of that, though, what would you say are your biggest challenges today?
Well, you know, in the business overall, you know, it's hard to predict this business.
Yeah,
Especially the last couple of years. I don't know if I would say it's feast or famine, but the technology has made it's great on one hand. On the other hand, it's, you know, if you're in it a long time, it might not be the best.
yeah,
Technology has made it where you could literally, you know, DJ in a place and you don't need a car. I mean, you could bring, if they have speakers there, you can hook up, um, get the Wi-Fi, and you're
yeah,
good to go. And that's
yeah.
happened a lot. And even some people are even doing their own playlists at their weddings.
Hmm.
Um, so it's been, and on top of it, um, there seems to be a lot more. I could be wrong. I mean, you would know the data. There seems to be a lot more planners, and I I so appreciate planners, because if you're working with a planner, they can make your job a lot easier.
Yeah,
Um, uh, I would say there seems to be more planners, which in a way is competition because they have their own people that they go to. Um,
sure.
and then, you know, you have your wedding venues, uh, and there's no blame going on here. It's just the nature of business.
Hmm.
Um, they will have their set DJs, and maybe offer them in a package
Yep,
at a lower price.
sure.
So it's not any different than any business, in my opinion. I think a lot of businesses have those type of challenges. What we do is, like, we are always thinking about how can we fit a niche in between that.
Hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
the challenge is that when you have a low barrier to entry business, then it makes it easier for more people to come into the space. And that
yeah,
speaks to what you just said regarding like venues all having their own DJs or having um, DJs in house, planners in house. The same thing in the planning field, right? Planning
yeah,
is probably the least barrier to entry out of all the businesses in the wedding space. Planning is the least barrier. Then you
yeah.
would have photography and DJ. And you know, venue being probably the most expensive one to get into. But still, the barrier to that is coming down because people are taking their existing spaces and converting them. I think in the past 3 years, I've seen more people talk about converting space into wedding space than any other time I've seen
Is that
in
so?
history.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
You know,
it's
and it's
crazy.
interesting. It's interesting when you say the lower barrier to entry. Um, so I grew up in uh, it was a family business. Um, that was my father's side, and my mother was like music. So
Hmm.
seeing my father was very good with people. He was on the phone a lot, and meeting people a lot. And my mother's side, we were doing music all the time. And it was such a natural thing for me to get into because I already had the training. I could talk to people and I understood bookings. You know, I understood it. That business side was not a challenge. And the
Yeah,
music side was not really that much of a challenge. Today, that it's very interesting to use those words, the lower, what is it?
low barrier to entry. Yeah,
Because, you know, building a website today is very easy.
yep.
So the challenge for a client to me, and it happens to us, like, you know, there's these beautiful websites, couple of great reviews. Oh, they played here. Um, they may not be getting the the best DJ for what that website looks like. If you know
Yeah,
what I mean,
yeah, I
um,
do.
it's not sour grapes because, listen, I started sometime. Everybody deserves to be in the business who wants to be, but I'm just commenting on the difficulties for not just me, but everybody.
Yeah, well, it's challenging, right? Because you can almost provide whatever persona you want online, and
Yes,
and it could be real, it could be fake, and you know, the some people in business have the attitude of fake it till you make it. In a professional field where there's no real licensing around profession in this business, right? It's all just you. If you've been in the business for a while, you've learned your craft really well. You are a professional, right?
Yeah.
But you have to start somewhere, and so people start at whatever area they start. They try to make a good website. It's easy to make a great website. It's easy to get a couple good reviews.
Right.
It's a challenge for people that have been in the business for a long time, because when the barrier to entry is really low, it makes it more, the competition, it puts pressure on a lot of things. It puts pressure on pricing. It puts pressure on your ability to work in that space. You get less business, right? So it's a challenge. Yeah.
Exactly what you're saying. So being to what you were talking about, we haven't raised our prices in well over 10 years. Okay, our prices are the same they've been. So what will happen typically is we'll get, not typically, but it happens from time to time. We'll get a client who emails us. Maybe they emailed 3 or 4 other DJs.
Yeah.
And I'll get back to them right away. We usually get back very quick. I mean, like quicker than a lot of people. And they'll say, "Oh, everything sounds good." And then they hear back from some of the other DJs, and their pricing is what we might have been charging in the 90s. Okay. And then they come back and say, "Well, why is their pricing like this?" And as a consumer, I would do the same thing. I would have no idea. What is the difference? You're just bringing this. They seem good. They seem nice.
Yeah.
And, that's challenging, because I don't want to like educate didactically. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be that person. Well, I'm so experienced, because I'm always learning too. But there is a difference. When you do this a lot, you get really, really good at it. You know what I mean? As opposed to somebody who does it 20 times. They could be fun. You could really have a decent wedding that way. But it might not. It might be the difference between good or very good and outstanding.
Yeah.
And some people might
You're
not
right. You're right. I mean, it's a challenge, because it's hard to explain the value that you bring into the space when people, I mean, shop. This is just the way it is today. People are shopping by, I need this thing, or I want this thing. It's generally this, who has the best looking website and what are their prices, right? I mean,
no, first is what are the prices and who has the best looking website.
Yeah, and I hate to put it. Yeah, and you hate to put it in a commodity type zone, but honestly, it almost is like that, right? And it's partly because of the way people sell today. I mean, how many times have you gone to the store and there hasn't been a sale that you didn't buy clothing or something, right? I mean, it's ridiculous, right? 40% off here, 50% off here, Groupon this, do this, discount that, whatever. So our minds are programmed to discount or pricing, right? That's just the way society is programmed today. And then how do you show the value? The only way I can say that you can show value is to put a lot of content out that teaches people how to do stuff or shares information about who you are. I don't know any other way to do it. And hope that people look at the content, discover you, realize that, oh man, look at what these guys do. I mean, the brides that I have interviewed for this thing have said to me the things that have mattered to them are when they go look at something, people are responsive, they're upfront with them about everything, and then what they have seen is what they see, right? One sourced on Instagram, one was upset because she thought she had this nice venue, wanted to have this nice venue, but they weren't clear about the pricing. So when she really discovered what the pricing was, she was let down. I mean, there's so many things that you can do just to provide a customer experience.
Yes.
I think will go a lot further than what beyond the price, right? Yeah. So it's a challenge, man. It really is.
I really appreciate you saying that. I am with you, or I used to be with you when you were talking about, showing as much content. And we show our age a little bit. I think that's a little old school now, because I literally, this year, I took down maybe 20 pages, and I I had been so hesitant to doing it. I started my website in '96.
Yeah.
Okay. I built up all this incredible content. I took down a lot of it, fearing that, we'll lose our place on the first page. But I said, you know what? It's worth doing, because I don't think a lot of people, including me, when you go to a website, you do all that much reading. Now,
No.
there
Yeah.
are people like you and me who are probably maybe over analytical to some degree, but a lot of people are so busy.
But where are they busy at? They're busy online on social media, right?
Yeah,
Unfortunately, that's where they're at. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok, they're on.
I have to adapt to that.
You
So,
do.
right. So I cut down.
You and I both.
Right, exactly. So I cut down. Listen, what you're doing with this, when I saw this, that you're doing these videos, I said, I love this guy doing. It reminded me of me doing the podcast. It's a very similar thing. It's adapting to now.
Yeah.
Probably adapting better than I am. You can really. I think the best way to get to know somebody is eye to eye, like this.
Yep.
You can really. I mean, you could hear a person's voice, but when you see their mannerisms,
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
why. But today,
that's the point. Yeah, that's the point of this whole thing, is to share and learn. And if we can share and learn, then we'll understand more about each other and be able to, oh, you know what? That's what goes into this work. I mean, my goal for sharing about what you guys put into the work is to educate. Look, this is why it costs that much, right? Because these guys have 20, 30 years, or they really understand their craft, or this is what they think about than other things. That's why it costs that. Oh, and by the way, there's business challenges, and there's things that are working for them as a business. Those are the same things. For me, I have challenges in business. I'll share them with you, right? I mean, we're all having the same challenges. I'm not the only one dealing with these things, but yeah, that's really the goal here, is to learn and share, and hopefully it helps somebody. If it does, then I think we did our job, right?
Right, absolutely. One of the challenges also, I don't remember being this way, even a couple of years ago, but it seems to be more. We will ask about a budget, because we offer photo booth. We offer some photographers now who I've worked with for many, many years, and they give me very reasonable rates, so it's not gouging the client. But we'll ask for a budget, and so many people are reluctant to give me a budget, and I'm thinking, well, they don't know me, but I'm the type of person, if you give me a budget, I'm going to do everything to come not just a little under, as much under as I can. But there's like a trust level. And I know it's not personal because they don't know me, but they very reluctant. And, I guess that would be advice to a bride and groom. I'm glad we're talking about this, because this would be another bit of advice. Give the vendor your budget. You're not bound by that. By not doing it, you don't know who you're dealing with. They could be somebody who gouges, but they could be somebody like me, who I so appreciate you communicating. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to really try to make it so I come under that.
Yeah, sure. Try to help, right? And if you can't, you can. I mean, sometimes it just doesn't work out, right?
Right. Exactly. Right.
Yeah. David, what's your best or worst wedding story you got for me?
Best or worst?
Your choice.
I got a lot of wedding stories. Oh my goodness. I don't think it's the best or the worst. There's just something comes to mind.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sounds good.
Fairly recently, I did a wedding at the Edison Ballroom, which is a ginormous, elegant space in Times Square.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a very large wedding, and they had a final meeting with the bride. And we're talking, and she goes, "Listen, I just care about one thing." And I said, "What?" She goes, "I don't want country music at my wedding." Right. So I said, "Wow, you're easy." I said, "That's not typically where I go. I know a lot of it, but that's easy." Right.
Yeah.
So we get to the wedding, and I typically have an assistant with me, and I introduce them into the room. Everybody's cheering. We go into the first dance. We invite the guests on the floor for the second dance, and I turned to my assistant. I said, "There's something weird here." I said, he goes, "What?" I said, "I don't know yet." I said, "But there's a stodginess going on here." I said, "What is it?" It probably took me 15 or 20 minutes. And I said, "I got it. I know what the problem is." And I went up to the bride. I had my assistant do a little DJ, and I went up to the bride. I said, "Look, I am here for you. I am going to follow your directions how you need me to. But I have a feeling that whole right side of the room, tell me, they're not from the South?" She goes, "Yeah. How did you know?" I said, "I've been doing this a long time." I said, "I could tell. There's a different,
Yeah.
it wasn't, I knew they were from Florida around there." So, she goes, what does that mean?" I said, if I don't play, you should let me play a couple of crossover country tunes like Shania Twain, maybe even let me throw in some Elvis rockabilly, something,
Mm-hmm.
and Willie Nelson. Let me play a little bit to the guy McGraw. I forget his.
Tim McGraw. Yeah.
Yeah, Tim McGraw. I was thinking of his dad, the pitcher. And she goes, "Do whatever you need to do. Do whatever you need to do." And I interspersed those songs, and it was probably the wedding of the year. And
Right.
it was, and that's what we do just by doing it a lot. Again, it's not rocket science,
Mm-hmm.
but you get better at reading the crowds
Yeah.
and switching up on a dime. I want to make it work. So she had the greatest time of her life. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the best or the worst, but it was fairly recent. So
No, but otherwise all those people probably wouldn't have wanted to dance at all, right? I mean,
I don't think they would. I think they would have been mad. I
yeah,
think
and it would have been, "Oh, this is the worst wedding ever. We don't ever go."
yeah, or just sat there. Yeah, just sat there, right?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
So great.
Yeah.
David, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate you doing this.
Hey, I really appreciate you having me on, and it was really a pleasure to talk to you. And I hope we keep in touch.
You bet. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. I hope that you found it helpful. Please share it with other people. Also, if you're getting married or you work in the wedding industry, I would love to interview and share your information with other people. Send me a text, 520-399-8580, or shoot me an email at letschat@wedding.report.